Going on, everybody? We are back. Show some love. We're gonna go in today. Let's see. All right, just gonna give it a second, let people come in. We are gonna be talking about self-worth, fear of failure, breaking free, especially for 2025. It's time. Don't you think it's time? You let you stop letting these fears stop you. This fear of this fear of failure that's making you stay where you're at. That's making you believe something that you're not. Like, welcome, Beza. This fear of failure is keeping you trapped in your own mind in so many ways. Why? Because there's low self-worth attached to it. And you think that you are your achievements. So if you didn't get to where you wanted to get to by now, you think you're worth nothing, right? You think that, or there's very little belief in you, or because you haven't done much, right? Or at least in your eyes. But it goes so much deeper than that, and we create our own prison, our own hell on earth when we keep believing this shit unconsciously. And it is unconsciously, this fear of failure. But I got a couple of things I want to go into on this topic. And by the end, I'm going to help you break free, overcome this, and see how flawed this fear is and how much it's really holding you back. Because, let me see, one sec. No, I'm not trying. It's really holding you back because it's not the real you. It's not the real you. So without further ado, give me one sec. Okay. So, first and foremost, you have to understand the link between the fear of failure and self-worth. And oftentimes, again, you're tying your value to your achievements. And there's an issue with that. Because when you believe you're only worthy if you succeed, failure feels like a personal attack rather than a learning experience. How many people relate to that, right? Like, how many people keep thinking that you are your achievements, that you can't see more past that, right? You can't see past that. And it all comes from childhood. It all comes from childhood. Because our parents, whether they know it or not, welcome Anthony. Long time no see, bro. Hope you're good. Whether we know it or not, our parents gave us a sense of self-worth. And we believe that, right? So if we, for example, I used to have horrible grades in school, right? Welcome, Selena. I used to have horrible grades in school. And that brought my self-worth down so low, right? Because every time that I would get a report card, my parents would break down and it would just make me feel like shit, right? I'm like, oh, I guess I'm not worth much because I don't have good grades, right? Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. But again, achievements, that's one of the first things that we start to relate our self-worth to. Like those, like our grades, our achievement with our grades. And it's BS. It's BS, but it really is a learning experience. And the difference is, man, Anthony, the difference with this stuff is that a successful person would view their past failures as the reason they can go into their dream, go into their future. And a person who has low self-worth would view their past failures as the reason why they're disqualified. Welcome, Carolina. Welcome, BDB, Jose. That's the difference. That's the difference, man. Like, share some love, guys. Share this is helping you. All right. Welcome, Edgar. Like, if you think you are your failures, It's just feeding a story. It's feeding a story of the low self-worth. It's feeding, again, what you unconsciously believe about yourself and it's not even true. Right? So really, and it sounds so cliche, but really see the times that it didn't work out, the mistakes, right, that were made as a learning experience. What can you gain from this? What can you extract from this experience? Because you know, like you're creating yourself in those moments. You really are. And excuse me, welcome Abigail. If you start to see these moments where it didn't work out as opportunities to find a way for it to work out, it's going to start changing not only your results, but the way you view yourself. Because you're not going to keep seeing yourself as a failure once you change it. You have a 2 millimeter perspective shift on how you view failure. So it really is a learning lesson. And bro, you're going to fail your way to the top. You fail every day, right? Like you fail every day, but you're not so hard on yourself like how you are when it comes to certain things, right? In different areas, we're harder. In different areas in our lives, we're harder on ourselves. But you got to be aware. You got to be aware because this fear of failure, you can be at the top of your game, killing it, going after your dream, and it'll still be there if it's not addressed, if it's not handled. It'll still come up. Welcome, Alex. So a way to begin changing this perception of failure is by reframing it to growth. Reframe failure to growth. I promise it will change the way you view things that didn't go your way, right? When you shift your perspective, failure is feedback, not a final verdict. Let me rewind that shit. When you shift your perspective, failure is feedback, not the final verdict. When you learn to tie your shoes because you didn't get it the first time, are you going to slap the back of your head? Welcome, Jay-Z. Are you going to slap the back of your head and be like, I'm a failure. I'm never going to try tying my shoes again or brushing your teeth, right? No. Welcome, Joshua, Chris. It's all for growth. Like failure is feedback, right? It ain't the final verdict. You don't have to, because you don't have to give up because it didn't work once or even twice or even three times. Bro, I can share stuff with you experiences and stories where I failed that would mess up your whole month. All right? Like, yeah, we've all failed and been through stuff, you know? And sometimes you got to be careful because the victim's mentality can make you feel like, oh, it's just me. Nobody understands me, you know? And it's BS. It's so much BS. So reframe failure as growth. And each setback teaches valuable lessons that bring you closer to your potential. You're getting closer to your potential every time you fail. Right? And they're very valuable lessons because if you didn't do the action and didn't fail, you wouldn't have got the feedback. You wouldn't have got the lesson. It's all trial and error. Even with like AI, right? Like how they train AI. They're putting so many different things into the algorithm of AI, and it's learning so fast. It's failing fast. So fail fast, bro. Fail fast so you can understand what to do. You can know the next step, and you can fix it, right? Be solution based, not victim. Not victim. I want to say victim based, but don't have the victim perspective when it comes to this stuff, bro. Like, when it comes to failure, it's such a limiting story. It really is. Welcome, Roxanne. But each setback teaches valuable lessons. And if you get the lessons, you're going to get closer to your true potential. Welcome, Golden. You really are. But if you don't get the lesson, you're going to keep repeating it. The same shit's going to happen to you over and over again, and you're going to call that life. But if you get the lesson, you'll extract the growth. You'll be able to move on, keep growing, keep getting momentum, keep going after what you want. But are you willing to? Are you willing to do what you got to do? Right? Are you willing to have a little bit of courage to feel uncomfortable, to see, again, what the lesson is, because maybe it affects your ego, right? Welcome, Yanes. Like, maybe you just, it's hard for you to look at yourself. It's hard for you to be wrong because you felt growing up you're always wrong, right? And your parents, you know how many people feel that way? Like, your parents made you feel like everything you did was wrong. So you try to do everything to feel right. Right? But you're really just destroying yourself, and you're hurting yourself because your mind is closed. And you can only grow so much if your mind is closed. If you already made up your mind that you're a failure, you can't change that. People don't resist change, they resist being changed. There's a big difference, right? You got to change you. One sec. All right. Third thing, separate your worth from outcomes. This is really messing you up in the background. Remind yourself, my value isn't determined by what I do. It's who I am. Right? You're already valuable. You're already enough. Because you're not where you are, where you want to be, doesn't mean that it's not meant for you. It doesn't mean you're not worthy of it. It's just a little more work to do, a little bit more patience, a little bit more waiting to get to it. But you have to separate your worth from outcomes, because there's something called the Puritan work ethic. And this is so common in our society, where people believe that people attach all their worth to the work that they do, because that's how they find it. That's how we've been taught to find our worth, right? But the issue with that is, if you're not working, then you think you're not valuable, right? Then you think you have low self-worth. And that's the problem. It's like a different way of just the Puritan work ethic. It's a different way of, how do I put this? It's a different way of attaching your worth to your outcomes. It's just, but except that it's the outcome of your work, right? If you're productive, you're valuable. If you get a good result, you're worthy. But it's made up. It's made up. Like, your value, it's already built in. The system is already here. Can you tap into it? Can you find it? Right? There's nothing to reach for. Your value's in you already. But it's distorted by all these beliefs, by all this conditioning in your unconscious mind. But I'm trying to draw that out, right? Like, I'm trying to help you draw that out. It's more about you're more than just the outcomes of your life. You're more than how much money you earn every month. You're more. Can you see it? Because if you don't see it, you're always going to be trying to prove something to yourself. I work with so many entrepreneurs, and no matter what tier they're at, the fear of failure, it's in them. The low self-worth, it's in them. They struggle with this. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining. We're talking about the fear of failure and breaking free, because damn, you are worth so much more. You're worth so much more, man. But again, remind yourself, my value isn't determined by what I do. It's who I am. Right? It's who you are. Welcome, Jen, Julian. And also, practice self-acceptance regardless of external results. Can you practice self-acceptance regardless of external results? What does that mean? Let's say you lost your house. Let's say you lost your car. Let's say you lost the material crap that matters the most to you, right? Like, say you lost your phone. Not the phone, Roy. Right? Like, who are you then? Does that make you less valuable? Does that make you trash? Whoa, right? Like, if you lost everything, if the shirt on your back, bro, like, wouldn't you still be valuable? Who decides? Right? If you had nothing, like nothing, wouldn't you still be valuable? The answer to that tells you exactly where your self-worth is at. Because I still believe I'd be valuable if I lost everything. The house, right? Like, bro, because the value isn't external. It's not external, bro. It's in here, right? It's in here. So, and that's what I mean with self-acceptance, regardless of external results. You already made it. You're already the king. You're already greatness. You're already the queen. Like, you already are enough. You don't need 10 Lamborghinis. You don't need 10 houses to know your fucking worth, man. You really don't. It's you. It's you that you need. Whoa. Yeah, crazy, huh? Whoever told us that. We're searching for ourselves in so many freaking ways. But are you willing to walk that path to search for yourself and stop believing that you're a failure? I used to believe I was a loser. Right? So what would I do? I would do loser things. I would drink, go out to the clubs, go, party, do shit that brought me no closer to who I was. Like I would just feel like a loser. And that's what I believed about myself. And what do you know? It came true. Believe you're a failure. Believe you have low self-worth. You're not meant to do much, right? Well, it's just who I am. What do you think is going to happen, bro? What do you think you're going to create in your life? But if you start to flip the switch, and here's the thing about self-acceptance too, because oftentimes we believe stuff that we're not, right? We believe, again, I believed I was that loser. You could believe you are a failure. You could believe that you're small, that you're not strong. You can believe that you're weak. Like, it's not you. And that's the problem with, I feel that people struggle with when it comes to self-acceptance, because like, how can I accept that I'm weak? You're not. You're probably the exact opposite. But you've been looking for reasons to verify, bro. Like when you get the code and you got to verify the code to your laptop or your phone, like you've been looking for reasons to verify why you're weak, why you're small, why you're a loser. Like it's crazy. But you'll always be in a disempowered state believing that shit. But the second you start to see the real you, when you start to clear this stuff and start to change the beliefs you have about yourself, the stories you have about yourself, you can accept yourself, because everything that you have discovered about you, you fucking love. Because it's the true you. It's the real you. There's a difference. Appreciate you staying in here, Jen. I hope this is helping, buddy. But next thing, release perfectionism and take imperfect action. Gonna keep a little old school, right? Like perfectionism, man, that'll keep you stuck for a long time. Everything has to be so perfect. I'm not saying to lower your standards, but it's a good way to cover up a lot of stuff. Not saying I'm a perfectionist. It's a good way to really say I have imposter syndrome. It's a good way to a lot of people believe that there's something wrong with them, right? But it's a good way to cover that up in a sense. And like, yeah, there's nothing wrong with you, but when you have that belief and you're constantly going into perfectionism, like that's really what's in there unconscious, what's going on in the background of your mind. So release perfectionism, take imperfect action. Waiting to be perfect before starting holds you back. Progress comes from showing up, not from being flawless, right? Like, just show up, do the work, do what you gotta do. Like with musicians, the goal is to experiment, to have fun, to just create the music. It's gonna get better regardless if you just keep putting in the reps. If you just keep trying. But if you don't even give yourself a shot to try, of course you're gonna fail, right? Of course you're gonna struggle with the same stuff, the same beliefs, because this illusory belief that it has to be perfect. It's a story keeping all your other limiting stories true, because you're not even going to try if it's not perfect, right? You're not even going to hit record if it ain't perfect. Like imperfect action all the way. All the way. That's the only way you're going to learn. You can't calculate every move. And even, that's the thing, even when you do calculate every move, there's still going to be unseen stuff. There's still going to be uncertainty. And you're going to have to course correct and, fix whatever comes up. So that's why imperfect action, it really is your best shot. It really is. Like, just try. Just see what happens, That's why I love doing lives, because it's all imperfect, right? Like, there's no fancy editing here. There's no any of that. It's just someone on the screen just sharing. And I love that. It's like people see you, right? It's just my thoughts, but a great mantra to embrace is done is better than perfect. Again, let's keep it simple. Let's keep it old school. Done is better than perfect. And again, over time, you learn. You get better just through the repetitions, and it becomes a little better and a little better. And there's nothing wrong with getting a little better. But again, when it's got to be just unrealistic perfection, we're just creating reasons not to do something. We're creating reasons why, because we're actually afraid of failure, right? We're actually afraid to fail. If it ain't perfect, well, if I don't give myself, if it's not perfect, how can I do it? So I'm not going to give myself a chance. I'm not even going to fail. Yeah. That's what's going on. I had a client that struggled with procrastination, right? We went into this on a coaching call, and as we dug, he had a belief that he was lazy. And I'm like, brother, you're not lazy at all. You're busting your ass. You're working hard. Like, what do you mean you're lazy? And we went deeper and deeper, and there was a belief underneath the laziness. And it was that he didn't want to start something because he was afraid it was just going to fail anyway. Think about that. Any of you relate? Right? I'm just going to fail anyway, so why even start? That's why there's been struggles, right? Like, there's always something deeper. There's always something deeper. So, the thing is, if you believe that your whole life, how far do you really think it's going to take you? Right? If you believe that for a lifetime, why even bother starting something if I'm just going to fail? You're limiting everything in your life. But we challenged that belief, right, with my client. And he realized that it's not even true. I bet you there's a lot of beliefs that you hold about yourself right now that are not even true. And I'm hoping you can start to see that. I really do. Last but not least, create a vision bigger than your fear. There's got to be a bigger emotion that will override your fear, right? For example, focus on the impact you want to create rather than the fear of what could go wrong. That's extremely valuable, right? What if it could have worked out? What if you could achieve it? Why not believe that? I mean, the other thing is right? It's so much better than believing that it'll never work out. It's so much better believing that you don't have it in you, right? It's so much better than just believing the fear. Like tap into that vision. The vision that you've been holding for so long. You believe that's even possible for you. That's what you got to tap into, right? When your purpose is greater than your fear, you're empowered to take bold steps toward your true potential. But it has to be greater than your fear. Right? It really does. So when you focus on the purpose, Let that emotion lead you, drive you, guide you. Because letting fear of failure guide you, you'll always get betrayed, right? You'll always stay capped at a certain level, believing that you're going to fail, believing that you're unworthy of getting to a certain level of success. We really do impose our own limitations on ourselves, right? Every limitation really is self-imposed when you get to the root of it. But maybe you can see now, guys, what's been holding you back, right? What the ways we hold ourselves back through these stories, these beliefs, these patterns. But I hope you still bring in some compassion, right? And you've been able to kind of reframe and reclaim your worth, and maybe even be able to pursue your dreams a little more fearlessly now. Like you got to see past the facade of this BS fear, because it's keeping you dormant and it's keeping your soul trapped, right? It's keeping you always living in fear in one way or another. And I'm telling you, reframe it. Welcome, Abby. Reframe this fear of failure. What's the opposite? What do you believe is the opposite? It's growth, right? It's growth. You get what you look for in everything. You really do. You get what you look for. But, all right, guys, I'm hopping off. I hope this helped. I am a self-empowerment mentor, and I help people heal their upper limits, low self-worth, and embody their personal power. So if you want to see more content like this, go ahead and hit the follow button. Much love, and I will see you guys next time.